There is a vegetable that produces fresh greens from March until December. It survives winters that kill lettuce. It returns every spring without replanting, and it contains more iron than spinach, more vitamin C than oranges, and more calcium than kale. One planting lasts 20 years. 20 years of harvests from a single afternoon of work. For centuries, it was the first fresh food Europeans ate after brutal winters. Peasants survived on it. Kings demanded it. Physicians prescribed it. It grew in every kitchen garden from Scotland to Sicily. Then, industrial agriculture made it disappear. Not because it stopped producing, not because better vegetables replaced it. It vanished because a crop that returns forever cannot be sold every spring. Seeds that plant themselves eliminate customers, and customers who stop buying threaten the $17 billion vegetable seed industry. So they stopped teaching it. They removed it from catalogs. They made sure your grandmother forgot to tell you its name. Welcome to History's Hidden Harvest. If these forgotten harvests matter to you, subscribe and hit the bell. Every share preserves crops that the seed industry wanted you to forget. The story begins in 1492 in the monastery gardens of coastal France. Monks returning from crusades had carried seeds from the mountains of Afghanistan and planted them behind stone walls. The plants spread through underground roots, emerging each spring without any human intervention. The monks called them Peasants because you planted once and waited forever. The botanical name tells the same story. Rumex patientia, patience doc. The vegetable that rewards those who think in decades rather than seasons. But patient doc was only one variety. Across the channel, English cottagers grew a close relative they called sorrel, Rumex atetosa. The leaves tasted sharp and lemony, perfect for cutting through the heavy fats of medieval cooking. French cuisine built entire sauces around it. Sauce à l'oseille became the classic accompaniment to fish, enriching salmon and trout with bright acidity that no other herb could match. In Germany, they grew spinach doc. In Italy, monk's rhubarb. Every culture along the Atlantic developed their own perennial green, bred for local conditions over hundreds of years. The pattern was identical everywhere. Plant once, harvest for a generation. The roots survived freezing that killed annual crops. When snow melted, sorrel pushed through frozen soil weeks before anything else germinated. In the hunger gap of early spring, when winter stores ran empty and summer crops had not yet matured, these perennial greens kept families alive. Parish records from the 1500s document spring mortality rates dropping in villages where sorrel grew abundantly. The connection between perennial vegetables and survival was so obvious that no one bothered to write it down. Everyone simply knew. Catherine de' Medici brought sorrel to the French court in 1533 when she married the future King Henry II. She considered it essential to proper cuisine. Within a generation, no aristocratic kitchen functioned without it. Gardeners bred pizzzi, improved varieties with larger leaves and milder acidity. By 1600, seed catalogues listed over a dozen named cultivars. The vegetable had reached its golden age. Then came 1845. The Irish potato famine killed 1 million people and displaced another million. The British government responded not with food aid, but with agricultural modernization. They promoted new systems, annual crops, purchased seeds, chemical fertilizers, mechanized harvesting. Perennial vegetables did not fit. You cannot sell seeds for crops that reseed themselves. You cannot sell fertilizer for plants that build their own soil. You cannot sell new varieties when heirloom roots have grown in the same spot for 50 years. Agricultural extension services funded by seed companies taught farmers to abandon perennials. By 1900, sorrel had vanished from most commercial catalogues. By 1950, it had disappeared from home gardens. The knowledge transferred grandmother to granddaughter for 500 years simply stopped. The seed industry understood the mathematics of dependency. A gardener who plants annual lettuce buys seeds every year. A gardener who plants perennial sorrel buys seeds once and never returns. Multiply that across millions of households and the lost revenue becomes staggering. The global vegetable seed market reached $17 billion in 2023. Companies like Bayer, Corteva, and Syngenta dominate through the hybrid varieties that do not breed true, forcing annual purchases. Perennial vegetables. Break that model entirely. Modern science validates what medieval peasants understood through observation. Dr. Eric Toensmeyer at Yale University documented perennial vegetables extensively in 2007. His research showed that established sorrel produces for 15 to 20 years from a single planting. The deep taproots access nutrients that shallow-rooted annuals cannot reach. The plants improve soil rather than depleting it. They require no tilling, which preserves soil structure and sequesters carbon. Nutritional analysis reveals why the hunger gap feared sorrel's disappearance. 100 grams of fresh sorrel leaves contain 28 milligrams of vitamin C, more than many citrus varieties available in early spring. They contain 2.4 milligrams of iron, exceeding spinach. They contain 44 milligrams of calcium. They contain beta-carotene, B vitamins, and oxalic acid that gives the distinctive sour taste. The leaves are ready to harvest when nothing else in the garden has germinated. That timing made them essential. The biological strategy is what makes sorrel unkillable. The plant stores energy in thick taproots that survive temperatures down to -40 degrees Celsius. In spring, the roots mobilize stored sugars and push new growth before annual seeds have even germinated. The plant flowers and sets seed by early summer, then continues producing leaves until hard frost. Each root clump expands annually, producing more harvest every year for 2 decades. You can divide the roots and replant them. Each division becomes a new plant. One packet of seeds becomes infinite plants forever. This perennial persistence is exactly what industrial agriculture cannot tolerate. John Navazio, senior scientist at the Organic Seed Alliance, has written extensively on how the seed industry systematically abandoned perennial vegetables throughout the 20th century. Breeding programs focused exclusively on annuals that required purchase. Agricultural universities stopped teaching perennial cultivation. Extension services promoted vegetables that fit industrial harvest schedules. The crops that sustained European peasants for 5 centuries were erased from institutional memory within 3 generations. Climate projections make perennial vegetables critical for the coming century. Annual crops require tilling that releases soil carbon. They require irrigation during establishment. They die in early frost and cannot tolerate late spring freezes. Perennial vegetables survive all of these conditions. Their established root systems access deep water during drought. Their cold tolerance extends the growing season by months. As weather becomes more unpredictable, crops that return reliably regardless of conditions become survival infrastructure. Identifying sorrel takes seconds. The leaves are bright green, arrow-shaped, and grow in rosettes from a central crown. They reach 15 to 30 centimeters long. The stems are reddish at the base. When you taste a leaf, the sour lemon flavor is unmistakable. If it looks like spinach but tastes like lemon, it is sorrel. The plant grows wild across Europe and North America in meadows, roadsides, and disturbed ground. Once you recognize it, you see it everywhere. Growing sorrel requires almost no effort. Plant seeds in early spring or fall in any soil that is not waterlogged. Full sun produces more leaves, but partial shade works. Water during establishment, then never again. Harvest outer leaves continuously, leaving the center to regenerate. The more you harvest, the more it produces. Divide clumps every 4 years to maintain vigor and expand your patch. A single plant becomes 10 plants becomes 100 plants. Share roots with neighbors. Rebuild the knowledge network that the seed industry severed. Use sorrel raw in salads for acidity. Cook it into soups where it dissolves into creamy green richness. Make the classic French sauce with butter and cream to serve with fish. Preserve it by freezing blanched leaves or drying for winter tea. The possibilities are as endless as the harvests. We did not lose perennial vegetables. The seed industry made us forget them, but sorrel still grows wild along every country road. Patience stock still emerges in abandoned gardens. The roots your great-grandmother planted might still be alive, waiting beneath soil that has not been tilled in decades. That is what perennial means. It outlasts forgetting. The $17 billion seed industry requires you to buy new vegetables every spring. Sorrel requires you to plant once and harvest forever. That is why it was never in the catalogue. That is why your grandfather never mentioned it. That is why agricultural extension offices teach lettuce instead. But the plant does not care about profit margins. It returns every spring anyway, offering exactly what it offered 500 years ago. Fresh food when you need it most, for free, forever. If this harvest revealed something for you, subscribe to History's Hidden Harvest and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase from history. The next harvest awaits.